Hello, everyone, and welcome to Canadians with Disabilities and Their Allies. My name is Brent Frain. I'm the host for the show. And today I have Tom Pogson from Victoria. He's the basic income guy from Victoria, British Columbia, joining me today. Hello, Tom, and welcome back to the show. It's as a pleasure. It's always awesome to have you on.
Thank you for having me back on.
Always, and give people money and what can they do with it?
Yeah.
Endless possibilities.
Yeah. There's think about what to talk about from last time, the stuff I didn't go into last time. And first I was kicking off as like this kind of, because we were talking about like some scheduling things, and like it's a little bit like, it kind of reminded me of my own thing, because my project, which I started back in 2020, because I got super uber excited, and so I didn't want to like drive my friends crazy, so I started the Twitter, and then I got so many images from basic income quotes, I started the Instagram, and it just kind of ballooned out from there. But it kind of, because of running an Instagram thing before for like being a musician, I learned that you have to kind of keep the ball rolling, otherwise your activity kind of goes a little bit down. And the last thing I wanted to do was to make it look like I'd quit, I'd given up or something. I didn't want, our noble opponents out there to think I had completely given up. So it's like my project has basically turned into like a little newspaper, like, okay, what do we got today?
Yes.
So I'm like, sometimes I'm up after work, like just sitting in my car outside and just like, okay, so has Scott got anything? What's happening in the UK?
It's kind of like Yoda. Do or do not. There is no try.
Do or do not.
Like a bit from the Clerks cartoon all those years ago. It's like, face it, my friend, the Force will be with us always.
The Force will be with you always.
Engage.
Which is actually a great segue, because the Clerks comic book is what I was talking about last time. The Clerks, Kevin Smith put out one comic book of the Clerks, whatever, and there was a moment where Randall was freaking out because Dante wanted to have a second job, because people just didn't do stuff like that back then.
Yeah.
And now it's like everybody has like side hustles and stuff
3
like
or
that.
4 jobs.
That's what it was like back then, and I remember just like freaking out and like, God, why doesn't anybody notice this? Like, what is going on? Why aren't people in the streets? And that's like one of the people that I talk about probably more than anyone is Professor Guy Standing. And I think it could be because I'm a fan of all things British. Like, a lot of my music is British. Like, I'm a fan of Depeche Mode. Like, I played Personal Jesus last time. But it's also that his background is like, he's an economist, labor economist. He's worked in the ILO, World Bank. He did like projects with UNICEF and stuff like that. But he's also been boots on the ground, where he's like talked about situations where he's actually been involved, and he like that one little clip where he got emotional because of that one lady who was in rags and she didn't have legs when he met her, and basic income started in Madhya Pradesh, and then all of a sudden she became the seamstress for the whole town, and she was wearing this beautiful sari that she'd made. And so it's like he's kind of cool. He's kind of like 10,000 feet up and also boots on ground at the same time. And he's like putting out, like, I just got this one literally from the library yesterday, and there's one that I've got on order, which I'm just like, oh, I can't wait for that one. It's called A Politics of Time, because it's about like creating better sense of time and bringing, like, as opposed to people having to like work like 70, 90 hours a week, like bringing back that feeling of time, This is another one that I got. Oh, I'll just go through the books now. This is one that I did a project called Care, and let's see, and I kind of discovered because of the show Planet of the Humans, the one that Michael Moore kind of worked with Jeff Gibbs on. They did they talked about how the situation with climate isn't so much carbon, but it's our activity that it's like, if we can get ourselves out of control, anything's possible. And so that's what brought me in line with this degrowth. And this book mentions basic income like a load, because how can you do degrowth without making sure that everyone has the ability to go along with what's going on?
I thought it was all the farting cows.
Yeah.
Isn't it all the farting cows?
And then you can also get like, You can say, yeah, you can take time to get the cow some Beano.
I'll get my hands onto that book there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Here we are.
That'd be amazing. The future will probably,
Imagine.
And then I was just like, there's so many, most of the people I think in the audience are pretty much Canadian. But these two, of course, I had to make sure I had my own copy of them. Yeah. Evelyn's work from that. I mean, God, like, it's so amazing with Evelyn. Like, you'll be listening to when I've done the playlist list, which is like this thing I created where it's like, it's basically every day at work, I'm just looking for, okay, any new basic income videos today. And I've been doing that for 3 years, plus other things. So it's like, now it's at like 6,000 videos. And so I've listened to talks, like, that's basically how I know what I know. It's just like repetition's the mother of skill kind of thing. And I've just listened for, for hours. And like when it comes to Evelyn, it's like, you'll be listening to a talk in Italy, or be listening to a talk in Australia, and they suddenly bring up like it can reduce healthcare costs by 8.5%, and it's like, bing, there's Evelyn, like that's her work where she researched what happened in Dauphin, Manitoba, from 74 to 78, and with the pilot Mincome. And there's just something about that pilot to me that's just kind of special, because it's like, I was born 1 month after its announcement. So it was like right around the time I was born. And it's also, there was no internet, but it was like a full town saturation site. So it was a proper basic income. And everyone kind of thought, like, this is what's going to happen. This is just what we're doing now. So there wasn't that, like, it almost pushes back a little bit on like, well, people know they're in a pilot, so maybe they're on best behavior or something. It's like, no, they thought this is what we're going to do. So they just got on with it. And everyone just kept working, except for kids going back to get their grade 12s and young moms extending their 1 month maternity leaves, and all these other things that she talks about. Like, one was like businesses that would start up and they'd be surrounded by the people who would invest in that business, or dental care. Like, one guy was like, yeah, we all went to the dentist. We all came home with like a mouthful of fillings, which sounds really bad, but in the end, it's actually quite good.
Yeah. So, meanwhile, the boxes were sitting in a warehouse, and they had to dust them all off. And so came across, hey, what is this?
Yeah.
Hey, it worked well for people. Oh, did it? Oh, it's kind of like that one that the report that was done in BC. I think we talked about a little bit about that. The report came out was it January 28th of 2021.
Yeah.
Quite the report.
It's my favorite book, really.
Quite lengthy, Yeah.
Oh, was it Steve Schaeferman? Is that it? Is that the person who?
Yeah, it was an agreement that was about the study for the basic income pilot in BC, but that's around the same time that Ontario had theirs going, and then Ontario said, "Hey, this is working," and then they go, "Oh, it's working. Let's get rid of it." And then BC goes, "Oh, I guess it's not working."
Maybe the issue is that if you and I had a basic income, Brent, we would have like 1 million followers on this channel, and then the politicians would get nervous. So maybe that's why we don't have a basic income, right?
Well, that's just it. Like, it's like, if it, like, I mean, the idea was agreed on by like 1,000 economists back in like 1968. Paul Samuelson, my dad actually, because everyone, like, this is like one of the interesting things about it is you start with this simple thing, this simple little idea. It's got like what's BN's policy is like 5 rules, which of course in Canada we income test it, but it's like individual, not to the household, unconditional, on a regular basis, in cash. I can't remember what the other one is. It's just a simple little thing. When I first heard it, I thought it was like some person had recently come up with it, and I went like, yeah, I think we need something like that because people's incomes aren't really keeping up. And then when I started looking into it and I discovered the history of it, it's like, holy crap, this is huge. Why don't we? It's like it was like a real like Da Vinci Code or something. It's like, this has been around all this time. What? Yeah. And but where was I going? But yeah, it's like everyone keeps saying like oh, you should learn economics. Okay, fine. So I got my dad's old economics textbook over there, and I don't get as much time to go into it as I used to because I'm doing some other stuff right now. But I literally was like, yeah, it had like the book by Paul Samuelson, who agreed to the basic income back in '68, and like I got the textbook by him and the workbook, and I'm going through it, and like the what was that, the possibilities curve and stuff like this. So you really, it's like, from that you start digging into these other directions because it's connected, because it's underneath everything, so it's kind of connected to everything. And this is where it gets really kind of exciting. And like one of the projects I'm doing right now, which is kind of insane, and I actually blocked somebody because I even dared to even mention a little bit of it, because this person claimed that progressives like myself aren't allowed to quote the Bible. I saw a couple times where people said, well, maybe somebody should come up with some Bible quotes that support basic income or push back against some of the Bible quotes that are used against basic income. And it's like, okay, my mom was the head of the let's see if I can do this, the Secular Franciscan Society for Western Canada. She knows every priest in town. If it wasn't for my dad, her name would be Sister Joan. We were raised, very Catholic. I went to Holy Cross High School in Surrey back in the day. So it's like, all right, as Bell and Sebastian said, they write them like they used to, so it may as well be me. So I've started working on this thing, and to do it, I've been plowing through the whole Bible. And like last night, I was like, got that book about St. Paul, because of course, Paul was the guy who wrote the letter to the Thessalonians, which actually apparently he didn't necessarily write, because he actually died, and people kept writing on behalf of him. And some of the stuff that was written on behalf of him was actually kind of like, it seemed to be going in the direction of, what the people in power want. So it's like it was already starting to be kind of like manipulated and corrupted. And but anyway, that's just my own theory. But yeah, like Paul's, like you might have heard Paul's letter, which is or that moment, which is, he who shall not work shall not eat. And people go, there you go, got to get a job. And it's like, well, okay, guys, let's break this. Like it's kind of funny how over here with one Bible quote, they'll pick it apart and they'll explain it, whereas with that one, it's just nope, it's word for word. And it's like, well, no.
Well, my big thing, of course, is the clawbacks, right?
Yeah.
And I actually like using Bible verses too. Actually, I have to say.
Nice.
And one of the Bible verses that I've actually put on my website, it's an editorial letter that I've written to the government before, like last year or something. But I put a Bible verse at the bottom of it. It's basically referencing, clawbacks and poverty, because it says it's from James 1 verse 27. It's pure and genuine religion in the sight of God the Father means caring for orphans and widows in their distress and refusing to let the world corrupt you. Yeah. So that's a pretty heavy quote, right? I mean, every politician should be looking at that and going, well, so how is a clawback of widows and widowers? How does that fit into the Bible then, right?
There's so many times, where it comes up like that. Like I'm gonna blog it, and I'm also getting Malcolm Torrey's book, he's over in England. He did it because he's a lifelong Christian, and he's written a book about it. But it's also with Paul to the Thessalonians, as one minister was saying, it's like the Thessalonians were actually given the charge of taking care of people with disabilities. So that was actually what they were supposed to be doing. And a lot of them had gotten into their heads two things. One, that kind of thing back in the Roman age where you kind of see those pictures of it where like guys are just kind of lounging around and like talking and stuff like that. Some of them had started doing that, and I was like, come on guys, there's people to take care of here. And the other one was that somebody told them that Jesus is coming back any minute now. So they're like, oh, we'll just wait. It's like, no.
Show me the money.
So that means you don't have to do anything, right? We'll just wait for him to show up.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't Mike, you at Tim Hortons get back to work. It wasn't that. Yeah. But there's so many other ones that, and there's other supporting ones, like how there was one, I think it was Paul to the Corinthians later on. He's like talking about like, blessing and abundance, and I'm like, well, exactly. Do you think God would have given us a God? Okay, for the Christians out there, do you think God gives us a world of scarcity and tight-fistedness, or grace and abundance? Careful, he's listening.
Yeah.
Like, So yeah, I mean, like, yeah. Well, steering
Sending
away
your
from the Bible stuff.
questions.
But yeah, like other, like it was kind of like arguments I like, or like why I love BIVC so much. Got like little notes down here from last time. I also had an experience with Canada Media Fund. I think this is one of the things that also did it for me, which is that um, for a year, me and my former co-writer had Canada Media funding, and we also had the TELUS Optic Award because of the show we were working on.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we basically had a kind of basic income for a year, and I got to experience what that was like, where you definitely always had this money, and it was like all of a sudden I'm like attuned to exactly what I want to be doing, and I'm focused. Like I could never do stuff in the level I was doing it back then, but I could sort of do it. But it was that, and also I got more politically involved. I started like getting in, checking out my city a little bit more. Like I remember taking the #1 bus just because what's the number one bus like? So all the way to Oak Bay, I'm like, oh, this is really cool, and just just what I mean, like trying out different restaurants and stuff that I normally wouldn't have time for. Which kind of comes back to that care thing, where it's like there's when it comes to giving people more sense of time and the ability to roll with the punch when something environmental does happen, like what's happening, what was happening recently, or with when we had the fire thing here. Like there's a line from Care, which I'll just read this one out. Obviously, we cannot work at the no activity level of lockdown, but we also cannot use the wartime measure of endless GDP to send our combined civilization off the proverbial cliff. Scientists said that the 5% reduction in early 2020 was great, but still short of the 7.6% needed to stop overall dangerous threshold of 1.5 degrees rise in global base temperatures. Considering this disparity of 2.6, we cannot just tinker around the edges of how we change things. I'm reminded of when the horse was overtaken by the internal combustion engine. The early designs looked like a carriage with simply the horse missing. It was not until visionaries like Henry George, what do you think of him, that the entire idea was shaped into what we now call a car. Like this, we need to completely re-envision our new way of living on Earth, not just with fewer plastic bags and more electric vehicles. And like when it comes to the car thing, like people are so funny because I kind of heard about the idea of 15-minute cities back then. I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. And then what is it, like half a year ago, the conspiracy crowd discovered it, and they went, what do you mean? And it's like, I'm waiting for them to attack degrowth. That's good. Like just mark your calendars, because they're going to be attacking that soon. But what do you mean degrowth? But it's like, yeah, it's like 15-minute cities are actually what we used to what we used to do, like ancient Copenhagen. They had like, it was like the city was like a round thing and everyone lived in it. Same here in Victoria. The shopping for anyone who's been to Victoria, hey Brent, and Sonia, but like Government Street, this is for one, it's the oldest street in Western Canada, but also it's called Government Street because the harbor facing side of the street was all government buildings, and the other side was the shopping district. That was the old, because like you'd live here and then you'd go down and get your groceries or whatever, and then walk back up, or you take the streetcar. It
is one of the easiest cities to walk around. Like,
yeah,
I mean, I remember the very first time I ever went to Victoria. I'd never been there, and I went there by myself. I had no idea where I was going, but it's a weirdest thing. Like I had no idea where things were, but I thought, well, I think if I just go this way, I'll eventually hit the legislature. And sure enough,
basically like that.
And it's like I just kind of knew where everything was, even though I had never been there before. It was just like, it was wild.
Well, it's interesting how they have everything kind of categorized there in Victoria, and all the downtown, everything's all situated. It's kind of like how they have the transit, and they're stuck in that one mode. It's like, hey, well, we got to change it, though. It's commuter, right? Got one going to, like I've said before, right? They got one going from Victoria to Duncan, Cowichan, right? But it's only in the evening, and then morning, last one, 6:25 in the morning, the last bus going back to Victoria. So I talked to, it's like they're so stuck in that era of status quo. They don't want to change anything. So I got talked to Cowichan. I've talked to Victoria. I've talked to Victoria. I've talked to Cowichan. And so I said to both of them, the same wording. Can we modernize? Can we make things go forward throughout the day so that people can commute. They can put money back into the economy, back into each city, and it helps small businesses blossom. And also accessibility wise, it changes the whole perspective for people. And like, wow, yeah, that's a great idea. I go, hey, I know it's a great idea. Well, let's put it to work rather than.
So I'm wondering, Brent. So you talked to Cowichan and you talked to Victoria. I'm wondering, did Cowichan and Victoria talk to each other?
That's what I asked them. They said, oh, well, you'd have to talk to our board member.
They have a central person between the.
I said, well, then put them in touch. Come on my show, eh?
You have to talk to our liaison people. Oh, for.
Then they said, well, it's up to the provincial government. Then they started upping off the branch. I go, well, I've already asked them, and they said talk to you guys. So now it's like, But it comes down to that same thing about basic income, right? Yeah. You give people the resources, or you give them the transportation. They can actually get around. They can be more inclusive in the society, right?
Yeah, like it doesn't have to be this one or that one. Like we did that kind of like. I mean, we didn't call it 50-minute cities back then. It was just how you live. Like, you think the beginning of Anne of Green Gables, the sequel, but who remembers that? My sister loved it. I could quote it, basically. But like, Anne goes from, like, the beach. She goes down, gets her post. She meets Gilbert, and they go back to whatever. It wasn't like, you got to hop on the bus because you got to go all the way to, because, we kind of designed things then around the car because, like, you could have the shopping district and the industrial section where everyone worked, and then the suburbs where everyone lived. And it's like, okay, so we're not doing that as much, but it's like, no one's like, I literally am a cleaner at 2 dealerships, and the guys who work there love cars. And it's like, I don't see like cars going away, but it's like, it's like working it better so that, you can still have cars, or maybe there'll be robo-taxis, but you can have the best of both worlds. Like we used to have, I mean, speaking of the layout of Victoria, there used to be the original, Victoria, not Conference Center, what's with my head? Victoria Public Market, that's it.
Yes, that's right.
They have the new one on Douglas where the old bay used to be. But it actually used to be where there's kind of that parkade across from City Hall, and that one road used to go straight through. So you had like, City Hall was literally on its own little island, with the thing over here. And the Victoria Centennial Square is actually made from the bricks of the old Victoria Public Market. And that market wasn't doing terribly well because it was too far away from the shopping district by foot. But the one thing it had was it was the station for the Victoria and Sydney Railway that used to actually come up the road, go down Blanchard. Now there's some crazy traffic for you. And then go onto the Nanaimo Street where Long McQuaid is, and then from there it go all the way. There's actually a road called VNS, which stands for Victorian Sydney Railway, all the way through Saanich all the way down to the harbour in Sydney. And there was actually 3 trains. The Galloping Goose was a 4th train that went this way, but there was 3 that kind of wound their way up the thing. So it's like, can we do trains? Well, we did it before. Like. It's like, if we could do it in 1900, I'm pretty sure we can do it now.
Let's go back to the future.
Exactly. It's like you're kind of taking like the best ideas from everywhere, and it's like that's my thing when it comes to. There was one book that I used. I can't remember the name of it, but I used it for CARE, which is like it's almost like the worst thing you could do is try talking about climate change, not because climate change is not whatever, but because it's now turned into this loaded political thing, and everyone goes, and so it's better just to make it so that living is easier for people, and the fighting of climate change, or whatever you want to call it, becomes a lot easier to do it. It's instead of taking on this political thing, you're just making it so life is easier, and all of a sudden the need for this and that, and and eating more hamburgers to get more farting cows, all of a sudden that stuff starts to go down just naturally.
Well, now they
support people, they grow better, and the problems go down.
And now they want to study the ENN railway. Oh well, once we turn the bikes, turn it to scooters. Let's just put the railway back in, and build it, and they will come, right?
Study it. I was on it. It worked. It was great. At the end. Yeah. But it's like there's all kinds of things it can be. Like it's like when people say, "Will there be work?" Well, yeah, because like all the stuff I'm talking about has to be put in. It's But some people can't do that kind of thing, like myself, really, because my health down here isn't what it used to be. So, like when it comes to, people say, well, if you can tweet, you can work. Well, there's a bit of a difference between that and me going to employers and them saying, are you available, blah, and me going, yep. When I'd have to say, well, it depends on how my health is feeling that day. Well, I can't hire you. Like,
my big thing always, like, I've been involved in a lot of employment projects that get people with disabilities working, right? I always say that my work with the Sam Sullivan Foundation was like I was a kind of a cheerleader and getting people.
Have we got this?
getting people
nice.
Getting people excited about work, right? But my big thing is, I was talk about passion, right? And isn't that what we should all be focused on, and not like, I mean, ideally, right? I mean, it would be nice if people would choose work that they were passionate about, not just because they needed to have some money, but because they actually really, really wanted to do something. Wouldn't that be great if more people did that?
Yeah.
Well, you notice what I keep hearing, like, so much. Like, it doesn't matter like which government gets into power, like whatever province it is. There's always that theme. You notice that, Tom and Neil, is like the jobs plan, because everyone needs a job, job.
Yeah, it's a guys thing. Yeah, job. Yeah, it's like just, as soon as you said that, I immediately thought of this point that I've made in a video before, which is when I worked at Tim's. I come on, boobly bits.
Shout out to Tim's.
Boobly bits. But when I worked at Tim's, it was one person who really wasn't working out. Everyone knew it. He knew it. We all knew it. And finally, I don't know if he quit or got fired. But I then heard from a family member who came in to get a coffee or whatever and said, "Oh, so he's got a new job." I'm like, how's that going? Oh, it's great. His boss says he's the best employee he ever had. And it's like, oh? Yeah, he's in big rig maintenance. He always wanted to do that. It's like, and there it is. And this is the point made by...
Mic drop.
Wilhelm von Humboldt of it's a Berlin university called Humboldt University. As he said, you can get any man to mechanically do any job, and he will do it. But if you can find the work that's meant for him, that's where possibilities really lie. And it's true. And it's kind of like, let's make it so life is better for people than just any port in a storm. And then you wonder why the guy serving you isn't really into it. Well, because we've given him no choice but to take that job, and well, you better fucking smoke, and it's like, well, maybe he's not supposed to be there. Maybe if you give him the ability to go, I want to do, give me a minute, that. And then, maybe you have to wait a little bit. Like, I tried to be a bike mechanic years and years ago, and you couldn't just go to a bike shop. No, you literally you had to wait until the season was hiring in spring to actually start getting employed. You can't just in the middle of December.
Here's an example for you. Yeah. You can't lead a horse to the trough if it doesn't want to drink, right?
No. Yeah.
And I learned this one part in college many years ago. Wow, it makes me feel old. But an instructor said to me, like we did this one focus group within our course, and it was like saying, okay, so what do you want to do? What do you want to do? And then they brought in this one other instructor, and we did similes of what your it's more like pros and cons of why this is not going to work good for you and why this is going to work for you, and looking at your personal attributes, right? And we really focused on your personal attributes of who your personality is, what you're good at doing. And it was a breakdown. It was quite interesting, really, because it really says, based on your personality, this is the kind of work that you would maybe be good at doing. But then it really focused in on your own internal of who you are, of saying, okay, if you're going to go and flip a burger at McDonald's, or you're going to go and work at Tim Hortons or Wendy's, or you're going to go work in a warehouse, or
we're in those places too.
Whatever it may be, and saying, it's just a job. Well, like, exactly. I'm glad you made that point, because
and your said podcast podcaster.
Yeah. You know,
Yeah.
and, I mean, and,
Nice.
you know, it was ironic as I look back at it and I think back, and then the government then said, okay, well, I was taking this course, learning all this stuff, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. And doing, we had to actually record ourselves sitting in a room, and it was like one of these rooms where you could see the window and the actual, it was like a mirror. The class could actually see you on the other side.
Yeah.
But it was actually a room for it was like a recording studio, really.
Right. Yeah.
And so they had this TV up there and a huge monitor. I mean, technology was starting to advance then, but this huge monitor, a microphone, and I'm going to be getting one of those eventually. But it was actually a whole studio set, and I'm recording myself talking about my life experience, what I want to do, and the class is actually sitting behind that, grading me and listening to me carefully, and I got to hear it back. What came out of it was that the government at the time had said, okay, you know what? We want to put you, Brent, through an educational assessment just to see where you're at. What would you like to do? And what it came down to is that communications, some kind of a radio talk show, and all this stuff. And I thought, that's interesting. Well, now here I am.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah. But you have to go with your passion. You have to go with what you're good at doing, and just give people that basic income.
Yeah.
They can put all the tools what they need to make that happen. All the resources around it, right?
Yeah. Another cool argument I like is one that Scott Santons has put out there called the toothpaste argument, which is actually it's by a fellow who is no longer with us. But Götz Werner, who was he was one of the guys behind the Swiss referendum basic income that kind of kickstarted this third wave, and he made the argument that the toothpaste thing. Götz Werner ran a grocery store chain in Germany, and what was it? I can't remember the name of it, but he's like, okay, when people think they take one of our toothpaste tubes, Crest or Colgate, and take it to the counter that they're paying for that maybe we'll get some free toothpaste. It's like they take it to the counter and they think, okay, I'm gonna pay for that toothpaste. That's actually a mistake. That toothpaste is already bought and paid for. What you're paying for is for us to make more toothpaste. Money is always going forward, not backwards. And so what we've done is we've got the whole thing backwards. Money isn't the fruit of work. Money is the investment into work. Work is the fruit. Work is the fruit of money, not the other way around. And so what basic income does is it goes, here, show us what you can do. And that's what happens. People want to give back,
I remember a chocolate bar being 25 cents and no tax. And
Yeah.
people were, what? Are you kidding me? No, seriously. They were bigger too.
Yeah.
And no tax, right? Chocolate bar, a bag of chips, a bottle of pop, $1.05. Hey, that 5 cents, for a ball deposit. I'd go and do my paper route. Brent, just bring me back that bottle when you're done. Yeah, no problem. Here, just give me that dollar bill. Yeah, we had dollar bills, people, back then.
Yes.
Yeah. Right? No loonies, no toonies, or
No.
But that dollar, really, like, you can really stretch that dollar really far. I mean, wow, 3 items. Now you can't even get 1 item.
Yeah, chocolate bars are now like,
oh gosh,
or something like that. But yeah,
$2.
Fine, $2.39 for plus tax.
This was my first album, and the reason I called it the Gold Blacks is my first ever memory at all, that like as far back as I go, is me and my sister going to a little corner store. I thought it was a corner store. It was actually the office for the motel we were staying at. I think we were moving from Chilliwack to Langley or something like that. And it had gold black lettering on the sign.
Oh,
so
nice.
I called it the Gold Blacks, and I made it look like the Gold Blacks were some kind of troop or something.
Oh, wow.
But like I think chocolate bars was like a quarter. It's like my parents would give us. So we'd go to the candy store, and I got my quarter from my Aero bar or something like that.
Oh yeah, I mean, or I could get Mr. Freezy. Like I get a jumbo one for 30 cents.
Yeah,
a big giant one. Like personally, I didn't really like the big Freezies myself. I don't know why. I just
this could just descend into like all candies. Like you remember Lick'em Sticks? I remember those.
Well, even I remember the best thing about the corner stores was they had like
1 cent candies.
Well, no, they had pinball machines and they had arcade like little arcade cabinets, and you would just throw quarters in that, and and have a good old time, you know. And
Yeah, that's
and,
where I was on the ferry every single time, like watching some guy play Gladius or whatever. Like, I didn't have the quarters, but I could just watch.
Yeah.
But another favorite argument is from Kenya. The other great thing about this is funny. It's like it's one of the things where I'm in complete agreement with Wilhelm von Mises, who was like him and Friedman and Hayek. I mean, they're the root of like modern conservatism, and I'm not conservative. Hugh Siegel is. He's one of the longest running advocates for basic income in Canada. But what's interesting is Wilhelm von Mises explained something that speaks right to basic income, and it was shown in Kenya with the Give Directly experiments, where nice. Where what was it? Andy Lowry's book, Give People Money. I learned this from that, where like, you know, they'd see like these like piles of water bottles or piles of shoes, and it's like, what's all that? And it's like, oh, that's from some charity thing. They wanted to help us, so they sent us shoes. But we have a cobbler in town, so we don't really use them. So we just put them over there. Maybe you can use them for extra material or something. But with the money, like one nice
pole position was my favorite. I love pole position.
Or Spy Hunter.
Spy Hunter was great too. Oh yeah, the music, oh, it was great.
Yeah. But with that one, it's like what people did with their money. Like one guy bought a chainsaw, one guy bought a motorcycle, and people think, oh, okay, so impulse buys. It's like, no, the chainsaw was used by a guy to clear old stumps so he could give it to his brother who's a carpenter, and the motorcycle, a guy used it to create a little taxi service, which is something they do in Kenya all the time. Like they just hop on the back and I'll drive you wherever. And it's like, this is like, there's no chainsaw motorcycle program out there as far as I know. It's like money can go to exactly the specific thing. And that's what von Mises said. It's like, no government can give people exactly what they need the same way money can. That's what's useful about money, is it has that ability to go exactly to the thing a person needs, exact, you know, color, whatever. It's like, can I get, okay, I need 2 of these, 3 of these. Do you have any of these? Like, you know, like that's like when universal basic services, I'm not against something like that, or job guarantees, but a basic income needs to be there as the floor that you can service any kind of need. And then you can put these additional things on top, including like, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, it should be, you know, a basic income should be livable. And then you put the disability amount on top of that.
Yeah.
Because if somebody can't work at all, it's like, no, they should be 10,000 feet above poverty. You know? That
was actually at the Base Center. That's actually.
Oh wow.
They actually still have them there.
Brent is so distracted on coin machine. No, but what I was gonna say is, you know, you talk about basic income, and I mean, we talk about the Canada Disability Benefit. Now that's kind of a form of a basic income.
Yeah.
But the problem with that though is, I mean, when we were talking about this, is that the provincial governments still are looking to get their hands on it, right? Like, oh, this is more money that we can claw back. So then it ceases to be a basic income, right? Because as soon as you take it away.
Yeah,
and so say sorry. It's like,
this is the problem, and this is the thing. This is the thing that Guy Standing also talks with. He didn't talk about this specifically, but in a kind of way, which is that thing I mentioned about utilitarianism, where it's like, instead of I could read out his whole thing, but basically, from what I understand, I'm not an expert on it, but it's like it's like because of policy decisions, it's about favoring the majority. And then not favoring other groups, like seniors, like people on disability, blah, 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 blah. That's why you always hear him go, you know, middle class and those looking to join them. You know, it's like, that's why CERB, 10 days. CDB, so almost 997. And even when it does roll out, it's like, well, you know, because it's like, Yang said it perfectly, which is like the problem with income targeting, and I know that my, you know, Canadian... Joseph will scream. Sorry, Joseph. And you know, and no disrespect to people like Evelyn Forget, who of course is a genius. But it's like the problem with income testing is it makes it, like Yang said, a rich to poor transfer, and then it gets politicized in a particular way. There is so much around the subject of poverty. It goes back to the 1600s with like Thomas Malthus and guys like that, like in the Poor Laws of 1834. Whereas if you make something that's a right, then everyone gets it. Like you see in Alaska, where like there was I can't remember the actual podcast, but they were talking about the Alaska Permanent Fund, which goes to every Alaskan, and it's like a basic income, only you couldn't live on it. It's like once a year, $1,000 to $2,000, and every Alaskan it would like defend it to the hilt, and is like, yeah, it's like we're shareholders of the company. And what was funny was that they asked this guy that, he said that, and they said, what do you think of basic income? No, that's socialism. It's like, you're literally talking about it.
Yeah.
But you know,
it's because it's a right. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And one Alaskan senator tried to funnel some of the money into something else. He was immediately fired, sacked, kicked out.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, that's the difference. Like, when you make something a right, like, I mean, imagine if they started messing with our, like, SIN numbers or, you know, right, universal health care. It's like, all of a sudden, everyone's like, what? Mm-hmm. You know, because it's everyone's as a right. That's the thing. The more that's why I'm always kind of pushing in the direction of it being a right, as opposed to what it. I know it's so difficult with we're the one country that does this. Where everywhere else in the world it's UBI, UBI, UBI. Yeah. With Canada, it's like, well, yeah.
That's a great idea, but
yeah, I mean, but it's like, it's understandable because we have a whole tradition with it, with like, like Dolphin was what was called back then a negative income tax. Like, it was guaranteed annual income versus negative income tax, essentially. Negative income tax actually wasn't invented by Milton Friedman. It was invented by somebody before him. I can't remember, but it makes sense, and it looks cheaper up front, and like because everyone shows like the big amount, and they all go, wow, that's insane, that's huge.
The big picture, yeah.
And but there's also, like Evelyn said, she's absolutely right. Like the clawbacks, like you said, like one of the challenges with CERB and with like Canadians hate it when you give them something and said, we're going to need that back.
Yeah. Give it back.
Like that happened to my granny, where literally, she got this extra money. She was a senior, and she's like, I think you give us too much. No, Mrs. Pinkney, that's yours. You keep it. No, I think no, that's yours. Take a guess. Sure enough, the letter came later. You're going to have to pay that back now.
Right.
And she's like, I already spent it. You'd said. Yeah.
That's what happened to my mom one time. She shopped at a co-op,
Yeah.
And they give you a membership. You spend so much in a year, and you get this back. She goes, oh wow, I got a almost $1,600 check. Oh wow. So she spent it. Well, she was a senior. You have to declare that. She goes, oh well, I did. I submitted in, but you didn't put the paperwork in. A copy of the check. Why? Because we need to see a copy of it. So they clawed it off her. Now you get it. Now you take it away. It's like, that's why I'm worried about the CDB also, right?
Yeah.
Because now they're saying, oh, well, insurance companies now are going to now take it off based on provincial.
Yeah.
Well, are you kidding me? Should there not be something in place? Which there was. Apparently, there's lawyers who apparently signed an agreement saying that, we're well aware of this. Now it went to Senate. Now they're apparently they're well aware of it. They're going to sign off on it, apparently. It's going to go to Royal Assent from what I hear.
Yeah.
And then it's going to leave up to the provinces to decide and work with the insurance companies. Now we know what's going to happen there.
Yeah.
Now here's the icing on the cake. Sonia was talking to her mom and dad about they mentioned about the C-22. Yeah, we heard about this on the news. They'll give you probably about $200. They'll probably just top it up to the provincial, and here you go. Here's $200.
Yeah.
I go, no. They're going to make it hard. Oh, are you kidding me? Her mom goes, Are you kidding me, Brent? No, they're not that generous. They're not going to do it. And that's where they, a basic income would be a hell of a lot better for everybody, right?
Well, and that's the thing is that Canada also signed on to the CRPD.
That's right.
And we're still waiting for that too. And that's where I can make a joke. That's where I can make a joke and say, the only thing that Canada is good for is to do stupid stuff like changing the lyrics to our national anthem.
That's exactly like how much money that costs.
It costs so stupid.
It's window dressing. It's not anything, and it's like but that's why when it comes to like CDB or people unionizing in Starbucks or GLBI, sorry Joseph, or and Enya, what? Evelyn, and whoever. I got Enya's CD over there somewhere, but it's like I will always be behind these things because I always am about people getting more money because of course, like anything else to me would be insane. but am I worried it's going to not work out? Yep. You know, it's like, it's got to be, we take everyone seriously. Everyone has inherent worth, and we raise the floor for everyone. The end.
Well,
you know,
well, that's
like,
what that's what I'm concerned about, is that if if Sonia's mom and dad are right, I mean, they've been around the block. They know how it all works. And because they say, well, seniors only get $18,000, I think it is, per year. Well, they get $1,800, right? Seniors get about $1,800 a month, right? So whatever that calculates in a year. But anyway, the problem with it is that if they're going to make the CDB equivalent to that, which I'm hoping they don't, I really hope they don't. Something tells me that we're going to be revisiting this down the road, and we're going to be saying, hey, what did you do here? Well, now, we've got more to do. We've got more to do. And then eventually they're going to come out with the basic income, saying, hey, yeah, this works for everybody. Well, why didn't you do it in the first place?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it? Whose fault is it that we're all pessimists?
They'll do blame. They'll be pointing fingers. Oh, well, you should have done it this way. And
well, that was the thing. Like, we were like, the basic income was where we were supposed to go. Like, it was like the New Deal, and then the other thing, and then the 70s, and then of course we had the stagflation. I mentioned Johan von Mises, and Guy Standing has talked about this at length, with how it went from there to kind of market fundamentalism thing of like, get everything out of the way of the market, trickle down, make it so people have less and less options but to work, so forth. And so, like, we used to be the leader of the world for affordable housing, as Jack Layton said in his book on homelessness, and that went away. And it was like the real attacks came in the 90s. Robert Reich talked about this, where he was literally, he quit being labor secretary because under Clinton, this is the point that a documentary series called Neoliberalism talks about, where, this is why Hillary was a dead man walking going into that debate, because her husband literally was a guy who destroyed welfare, in the States. And like, all these things all happen around the state. Universal credit, what happened here in Canada, what happened is a worldwide thing. And now it's a worldwide, like, all of a sudden you're seeing, well, there's 10 cities in Manchester, England. There's 10 cities in Prince George. There's 10 cities in San Francisco. It's like, it's all over the world. It's the whole system that needs to be changed. And we were supposed to move in that direction of more security, but instead we went in the other direction. So it's like, now it needs to be in place, not as a panacea, but as the basis of both, considering where wages have gone as well. Like, this is Victor Schwetz's point, which is that the value to labor has been slowly going down. I mean, as a musician, we know this one. Like, we saw in the mid 90s where all of a sudden file sharing came in and we went, what? Boom. Attic Records gone. Like, this place, this company gone. Like, it wasn't because nobody was working hard enough.
It's like a bus pass, sharing, copy paste. So, and now jobs are like fragmenting in bits and pieces, and it's just like, people we'll still work. Like, people will still want things made by human beings, or like musicians. Like, you'll still want, you could have a robot playing music, but it's kind of cool to have a human doing it.
I worry about this artificial intelligence, because I mean, I remember it was, what was it, 1981? The first Terminator movie came out. Was it 81? And one of the first lines in the movie was
Skynet.
Skynet. But then it was like, and then the robots became self-aware. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is what's going to happen now with ChatGPT. It's like,
But you look at Back to the Future, when they went in and they part 2. I love part 2, really good. And so they're going, where are we going? Where we're going? Roads? We don't need roads. But you look at the time machine in the year 20. What was it? 20.
We just passed it or something like that. And what was it? George Jetson was already been born.
I know. But you look at that, and that was like, that was the idea back then when they made that. So future. So now you wonder, okay, well, obviously they had that in mind of them. So now what can future now be?
So it's like, and like, I mean, this is what's interesting with David Graeber. David Graeber's book Bullshit Jobs, where 37% of British employees believe they have a job that doesn't need to exist. And it's because we have this mindset around jobs that, well, jobs solve everything. Jobs. And it's like, no, like, I mean, we can people will still want to work, and there is other, like, jobs are a subset of work, and more jobs are not what they used to be. So it's like we can secure that floor for everyone, and people will still want to work, and it will work better when people have that security. But there's jobs that, like, there's a guy on Twitter who literally called his account bullshit jobs, because it actually makes things worse when we're like overextending ourselves. That just like takes climate change and goes, like, so
Well,
like we're kind of working ourselves off a cliff here.
Well, it takes a toll on you on healthcare too, right? Because if a person now doing all these excessive jobs here and there.
So basic income, in a way, it almost like calibrates capitalism so that it works out.
But it's less strain the healthcare system.
Like, nobody has to get out of the Starship Enterprise to push. Like, they've made it so that that's a pretty amazing system. You're still doing work if you're working on the Starship Enterprise, you're probably doing some cool science thing or tech thing or some other thing. But you're not probably doing a job of, you want fresh with that? And I can say that because I did jobs like that.
Well, I remember doing a tour of Purdy's Chocolates.
Oh, yeah.
In their factory there.
Nice.
And it was
samples.
But it was a fun little tour. But one of the things that always stuck with me, and this was like years and years and years ago, but one of the things that really stuck with me was, everything was immaculate. Like, all this stuff was like, the floors were shiny and stuff. But I remember walking past this woman that was standing at a conveyor belt, and there's all these peanuts going by on this conveyor belt, and all she was doing was she was watching this conveyor belt, and her eyes were kind of doing this because the conveyor belt was like shaking too, right? And and all these peanuts were going by, and she was just going flick, flick with all the peanuts, like the bad peanuts, right? She was just flicking with her finger, like flicking the bad peanuts and going.
That one could be automated by now.
That seemed like a very non-rewarding job.
Be. Like, there's some jobs where it's like, we should automate that. I mean, now for some like automating Tim's or automating McDonald's, I think is fine. Like, but like people, like, I know people who love doing retail. It's weird, but they love doing retail. But you could work in some cool retail thing where it's like, hey, I've tried, we just got this in, and it's from this country, or working in like a cool restaurant or something like that. I don't know too many. Like, I remember when I worked at Tim's, and I know I'm harsh on Tim's, but it was like every person who worked there was on like some form of antidepressant. It was like, it was not fun. And it wasn't like, you'd literally have like the owner of the place driving like a brand new car, and this person who was in her 50s looked like she was about 22 with all the work she had done. But the average person is barely getting by who's working there, and they're working 2 other jobs too. And it's like, how is this not bullshit? Like, So it's like we can up the game of what work is, and
I remember
people will want more. Like, it's like, you could live off the basic. It's like I said in the video recently, it's like, I'm literally the kind of person everyone thinks would quit, and I literally wouldn't. I'm a janitor. But it's like, if let's say I'm paying some kid to help me clean the place, $1,000 a month, and I said, hey, if I'll give you $1,000 a month to just stay home, would you quit? He'd be like, well, yeah. And okay. Now imagine I'm giving you $1,000 a month, whether you work for me or not. If you work for me, you're making the money on top, or you can work somewhere else and make that money on top. Would you keep working? And it's like, well, yeah, because I'd now be making $2,000 a month. Like most people are gonna want, like, when you ask most people, it's so funny when you ask, like Greg Beckman said, when you ask most people, would you quit? 90% of people were like, well, no, I'd keep going because I'd be better off for working, and I'd want to do something and whatever. But other people might. Well, we've never run into these other people.
Or it's like the time that a vat overflows, what do I do? It cuts off all the foam everywhere.
We're coming to the top of the hour. I was wondering if you wanted to sing about unicorns.
Here we go. Let's see.
Penguins.
Oh wait, no,
Pink unicorns, aka clawbacks.
Clawback. This will be entertaining.
A long time ago, you could live indoors, tents your recreation, and you could afford pretty much anything with one single check. But the BCNGP are magic. We're talking PW clawbacks. Seniors magically healed. Vancouver accommodation, that's a really good deal. No sweeps, no reads, so endless forms, so you choose your born. Every one of these is a pink unicorn.
Yeah.
Oh.
I think this came up playing music.
Oh.
Yeah.
There's more. For some
Encore.
For some strange reason, politicians can't see rising homelessness and poverty. Wages and supports half of what they should be. And what's this thing called lobbying? We're talking PW clawbacks and you magically healed. Vancouver accommodation, that's a really good deal. The sweeps, no reads, so endless forms, so sure as you're born. Each one of these is a unicorn. A pink unicorn. Well, a long time ago, someone had an idea to raise the floor for everyone. The cost was a steal, but some didn't like that people would have choice, and that's why we gotta raise our voice. We're talking PW clawbacks, seniors magically heal. Vancouver accommodation, that's a really good deal. The sweeps don't read, so end the forms, the service you're born. Every one of these is a big unicorn. There we go.
There we go. Yay. Yeah.
Yeah, you asked me that this morning. I'm like, wonder if I can write this like right now.
Well, I even like the original though. Like, green alligators and long neck geese.
I know
Some
the song
humpy-back
because
camels and some chimpanzees.
we do that one every year in
Really right.
every year St. Patrick's with Kokele. So that's how I knew the chords already.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah.
What else?
Karaoke time, you know.
There you go. Yeah.
Let's see. It's like, I don't know.
Hands touching hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? Sweet Caroline. Da, da, da.
Hands touching
Touching
hands,
hands.
reaching out,
I don't know if I can say.
touching me, touching you.
I could try to look up the chords really quickly, but I don't know. Is it like?
Hey, there you go.
But yeah, I did. I was like, so yeah, working on a project called The Commons, and so I've got a few tracks all so far. I played one that title track on Twitter. This one's pretty new. Let's see how much I can get through. Okay, so let's see, how do I do this? On the coast of the rolling sea, more and more is crumbling beneath. On a sturdy ship to a firmer place, we need to sail away. High above they reap the ill rewards of a squabble in what was done before. You're up there or you're here where nobody's safe, where nobody's safe. In the town of Edge, living on the ledge, we look to blame instead of leaving the town of Edge. Puff up first, the others merely wait. So vulnerable, so close, it doesn't mean you're safe. Until we build a knock, you can fall the same way. Let us build a floor beneath our feet for brighter days upon the rolling sea. On a sturdy ship, everyone can live. Everyone can live. Leave a town of ash. Look to blame instead. Leave a town of ash. There, thank you. I do.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
Thank you very much.
Hey, Tom, do you have one for C22 or dirt?
I don't. Let's see. How'd that go? Let's see. How'd that go anyway? Now, come on now, now. Oh, whoa, now. I was trying to do bop, but I can't remember how I used to do that. Yeah, I don't really have a derb one specifically. Like it's like, yeah, there's a few other ones in here. It's like 5 so far. It's kind of tricky because it's like you want to do. It's like doing songs about like connected to basic income, or I have one called Concrete Cracks. It's actually not connected so much, but it's about an indigenous thing. Like especially like MMIWG, of course, is supportive of basic income. The report on it advocates for a GLBI 4.5. But it's like that's a kind of a separate thing where my loved one is like, her grandmother, of course, was a survivor of residential school. So was her uncle and a lot of other folks. And there was a lot of feeling of being like, where you just feel kind of like you've come from this place that's told you to hate your own culture. And so you've internalized that, and you're frustrated and you're angry, and things are, and like you kind of try to steer away from it. But then I was at a thing with my loved one who was like, she was crying, and I'm like, why are you crying? And it's like the honor songs that were being sung at this Native event at the Victoria Wellness Center, or what was it? Songhees Wellness Center, I think. Not Victoria. But it was like it reminded me of my grandmother singing, and it's like, oh, that's fucking cool. Because like that part of her just fucking held on. It's like, that is so awesome. It's like, so I was like, the song's called Concrete Cracks, and it's about how like that, like the little flower that kind of cracks its way up through the concrete, and it's like, it still breaks through and holds its own. And yeah, like it's,
Or how about Tom? Durbit. Durbit.
You could do remember the whip it good. You could do the Durbit good.
Yeah, how does that? Yeah. Let's just try that one. Yeah, Durbit good.
Whip it.
Whip it. Yeah, whip it good. Yeah.
Let's see if I can do this, because I sort of know that one. I should.
Yeah, kind of.
It's like, oh, how was it good? Yeah, it's like, whip it. Into shape.
Yeah.
Durbit good. Durbit into shape.
There you go.
It's not too late to Durbit. Durbit good.
There you go.
Because we can get it. We can get it out. Imagine helping people.
900 days.
100 days. Durbit good.
Nice.
Durbit. Durbit good.
Yeah, all right, give the pass a step on. Yeah.
Hey, that could be a good new hashtag. Yeah, Durbit good.
Durbit good.
I did. I sort of. Oh God, I actually did that, and then I deleted it because I'm like, oh, I'm not. Then it looks like I'm not taking it seriously, and so. But it also, it's like trying to figure out where to not cross the line, and make sure that everyone knows that I'm being respectful, but also have fun with it.
Right.
So it's like, that's why it was like, oh, maybe someone's gonna think that's disrespectful because people are really suffering and stuff like that, and I don't want to make a joke of it. But it was like, not that it's not good as well. Like Tom brought everything down.
No, I
think,
like, I think Brent and I always get accused of that, right? Not always, but like that we're not taking something seriously if we're not always advocating for the CRPD, like. You're not advocating properly or whatever.
Yeah, or you're not talking about food banks and and getting to that, I mean, and I know the individual will be watching this, either live now or another time. And and I'm not going to single the person out, because I'm not here to embarrass people. I'm not here to put person on a podium and saying, hey, like, I need you to have all the attention. But when it comes to food banks, yes, like, I understand, there are certain communities in Canada that they do wonderful things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Small little companies that, a little mom and pop, they just want to provide something good for people. But like we said many times, food banks are not always accessible for people. They're not always, they don't give nutritional food to people. In some communities they do, like a small little tiny establishment. Great. But they were never meant to be a permanent fixture in our society. And I know, like the person mentioned in Ottawa, like there's an area, it's, I can't even recall the name of it, but there's a small little community that's there. And I welcome the person to come on and we'll do a segment, talk about food bank, right? And that community. But give people the money, like basic income. You give them the resources that they need, and they can make those choices that's best for them.
Yeah, and Food Banks Canada is actually in support of a basic income as well. Like they always have been. And so like how many times you see a thing on from CBC or whatever talk about food banks, and the person's there is like, we need a basic income, because we're seeing more and more people. Like there was one where it was like, what was it? It was in Toronto or something, and it increased like, what was it, 270,000 people coming per month or something insane like that. Wow. It was just like, what is going on? And of course, like what's happened over the last little while has just exacerbated what was already happening, where there's that one that, I mean, to me it's one of the best arguments ever, which is, as Robert Reich said, that if American minimum wage, not livable income, but American minimum wage, had kept up to the cost of living, it kept up to inflation and with production, it would be $24 American right now. You convert that to Canadian, it's 30, and that was said back in 2017. Then you add what happened during the pandemic as well, and I always get frustrated because, of course, everyone goes, yeah, man, that was CERB. It's like, oh, for Christ's sake, okay. One, there was a lot more money printed than CERB. Two, there were places like Sweden that didn't print anything, and they have tons of inflation, way more than us. Three, UK has a conservative government. America had both, Democrat, conservative. We had a liberal, so it's got nothing to do with that stuff either. And I mean, sure, they can muck around with this bit and that bit, but basically the whole world had this thing. And one of the main reasons we all slowed down, I remember this distinctly. Like during the lockdown, gas prices went because no one was driving. No one was driving anywhere, and so gas companies went out of business. Oil wells were capped, and then all of a sudden, according, like our noble leader said, we all came roaring back. And so all the gas companies, like the amount of gas isn't as much there, and of course, even though it doesn't affect us directly, it can affect us indirectly. The war in Ukraine. So I mean, like gas prices right now are at $1.99. Yeah. Well, of course, that's how goods get to market. So of course, that's being passed on. It's not. It's like, well, it's Johnny who got served back in September of 20. That's 3 years ago. Yeah. Like I know that inflation. Like if you like Iona Marinescu, no relation to Floyd, mentioned this in like when it comes to both labor shortages and stimulus checks in the States, was that like did it have it was an emergency printing, therefore it was printed money. Did it have an effect on inflation? Sure. Out of 100% of what inflation we had, it was like 5. So there was some there, sure, yeah, of course, but it wasn't the whole thing. Victor Savets, who's he's not like he's literally been on the what podcast is that? The Macro Voices podcast that like blows me out of the water. It's like guys talking about like bear and bull markets and all this stuff, and I'm just like my eyes are crossing. But as he said, it's like we saw demand didn't really move. It's not like demand went suddenly up. No, demand pretty much stayed the same. Supply went down and went back up again. And this is the head of the Macquarie Bank in Hong Kong. Not exactly a dum-dum, It's like,
hey Tom, I got a little tune for you. You could blend basic income into food banks. So it's a little theme from an artist who who has passed a while ago, but remember Weird Al Yankovic? So food banks, food banks, food banks, food banks. Give a person some basic income so they can go and buy their food.
They can buy what they specifically want to get.
Food banks, food banks. Yeah, Weird Al, I used to love for what.
Because sometimes the food banks don't have it yet. I don't know.
Give them the money so they can go and buy some food to eat it.
Yeah.
Give them some fresh fruit.
That's the problem with me. It's like me and my loved one. We could honestly go to UVic and bring ourselves forward as test cases because we have so many food allergies and food problems. Like I have IBS that makes it so that you have to pick mostly these. For some reason, garlic is okay, or maybe I don't know. But bread can be iffy. Apples are out. Onions are out. Like try. Like restaurant food is brutal. I mean, everyone uses onions to saute, right? So, and like she has an allergy to tomatoes. Well, I mean, food bank, it's like, canned tomatoes, stewed tomatoes, blah, 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 blah. So that's out. Like if we got a donation to food bank, 90% of it would be thrown out because it's like, or given to somebody else. Not because of the, dented cans and dates, though that happens, but because it's like, no, I can't do that. Can't do that. Can't do that.
I love it. Some of it's processed foods too, right? And I mean, the system can't handle certain foods. There's certain food groups that you can or can't handle. Yeah. And the name came to me now. It's called Parkdale. It's in Ottawa.
Right.
Yeah. I've seen a picture of it. I mean, yeah, it looks like a beautiful plate of food. But that's great for certain people that can eat that food. I mean, but it doesn't work for everybody, right?
I thought I bought you some apples. Do you want them?
Yeah, and eat those. It's acidic. Like there's certain apples I can't eat either. I get like little hives on my lip for some reason. There's certain apples, like allergic reaction. I love apples. Peanut butter, same thing. Like there's certain peanut butters I've noticed that there's a reaction that I'm getting. It's either that or it's the bread. And I know I'm not allergic to nuts, but there's something in it that is either the bread or some component within the peanut butter. Yeah. So. Course, it's just my system says, what are you doing? Hey, I got hungry. Go eat it. Eat it.
Yeah, there's this one too, which is like I gotta play it because it's a title track, and it's actually a 16th century poem, and it dates back to, my hero, Guy Standing, as he said, first basic income, as far as he's concerned, was a charter of the forest. It gave everyone rights of subsistence in the commons, and so in the 16th century, somebody wrote this. So let's see if I can do this. The law locks up the man or woman who takes a goose from off the commons, lets the greater villain loose, stealing the commons from the goose. Law demands that we atone when we take things we do not own, lets the lords and ladies find, taking the things that are yours and mine. Poor and wretched don't escape if they conspire the law to break. This must be so, but they endure those who conspire to make the law. The law locks up the man or woman stealing the goose from off the commons. Goose was still a common lack till we go and steal it back, yeah. The man or woman stealing the goose from off the commons, lets the greater villain loose, stealing the commons from the goose. There we go.
Awesome.
So now, there we go.
Now it's time to try these.
Tim Hortons. Hey, Michael Bublé, we're looking at you. You're actually at the French side there. Nouveau.
Oh,
Post.
There you go.
Apple fritter. There we go.
Apple fritter,
there we
yeah.
are.
See, that was the one thing, and like being able to have my break at like in the middle of the night. I used to work graveyards, and you used to have like hot, fresh chocolate sour cream back when they could make chocolate sour cream, like right out, and they were like warm.
I had a friend of mine who was a head baker for Tim Hortons, and so I'd come in, and the owner would say, "Well, come and help your buddy." I go, "I can't come here. I don't work here." "That's okay. You go in." And so he says, I bet you can't lift this big giant tub. I'm like, "Wow, that's it." "Oh yeah." I'm like, "Oh shit."
Yeah, but speaking of Tim's, it's like one of the job that I literally used to do. One of the last jobs I did was muffin baker. That job doesn't exist now because those machines came in. Like originally, you have to weigh out your blueberries and your chocolate chips and everything. The fruit explosions. You had the little apple there, and now they all come flash frozen. You put it in the thing, hit six muffins come out. So literally, a job that I did, like there's an example. Job that I did, literally gone.
Well,
the muffin man, the muffin man, the muffin man.
The girls used to break my cookies in the morning, so they're all broken one.
Right. Well, I used to make like 160 pounds of donuts, right? And he'd be kneading all this stuff, and of course that job became obsolete, right? And I go, "Oh, how do you make the apple fritter?" So he showed me like all this dough and all this flour everywhere, and I'm like, wow. And of course the owners would get mad, right? Because he'd be like, "Well, how much did you make?" "Well, we got a big soccer team coming in. They're going to be ordering a bunch of this and that." And then he got
party
paid,
packs,
but he got paid per pound what he did, right? So So if we want 120, we'd make 160. Well, hey, extra money, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Brent, I'd take a dozen donuts home. What? Yeah, we got extra.
One of the guys that worked there when I was last there was like still wearing the white apron, but it's like, "So are you a baker?" He's like, people ask, "So are you a baker?" I'm like, "No, I'm just a reheater." It's like the only thing they actually had to do on site was like glazing for the honey dip because they didn't have the technology to do that. But or I guess some of the other glazings like old-fashioned glaze or whatever. Yeah, everyone's gonna get hungry.
The chocolate dip, right? There's different flavors that are coming out, and I saw this and I just figured, well, I haven't tried this yet, but I'm gonna be doing this breaking with Brent.
No, I think that should be a coffee time one, maybe.
Coffee time.
Make it a coffee time.
Coffee time with Brent. And it'll be entertaining. So I haven't opened it up yet.
Coming soon.
Coming soon
to YouTube near you.
Kind of a little preview of what's going to be happening. It's it's still good. It's good until 23 November 18th. So we got a while yet.
We got some time.
What's it called?
It's I guess it's still fresh. It's good though. They have different ice creams too. I saw that I was at Walmart. They got Boston cream now apparently. Haven't tried.
Yeah, try that.
Which other ones? There's Boston cream and what else?
Can't remember.
Oh, there was a whole bunch of different ones. There are new flavors coming out. So
here we go. 'Cause you're once, twice, 3 times a lady.
And I love.
That was great. When I was watching that, I told Brent this. It's like I was walking around all night at work going, "'Cause it's once."
Twice.
Because you had your hands like this, like when it came on. I'm walking around the work all night long. It's once.
Twice.
Twice. 3 times.
This podcast is like just dissolved into a little like.
It has.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I like putting those little songs at the end of your videos. Like the last one was "It's the end of the world," with the miracle whip, right? The frozen miracle whip.
It's the end of the world as we know it.
And I feel fine.
Like I said, I literally the old one was like it would do exactly that. The new one it's like it won't. It kind of comes up close to like 4 degrees. It gets to almost at between 2 and 4 is supposed to be the for working at Tim's, and it kind of comes around there, and everyone's like, no, Tom, it's fine. It should be fine. And I'm like, so this one's problem is it can't really get down into the really like safe zone as well. But it's not bad enough to be annoyed about, but it's like, like the same sort of thing. Like, do I bug them and try to get another fridge? And then I had a microwave explode on me. Like, that's, wow. It's just all of a sudden, I open the microwave door and boom. All of a sudden lights go out.
Yeah. It's like our fridge. No, don't adjust the freezer. Don't adjust the temperature in the fridge. And the maintenance company that came in, so-called fixed it. And so they would have told management, make sure they don't touch it. So now we put stuff in the front. If you don't want it frozen, keep it in the front. Put it in the back. Oh, you want it nice and cold? I put mayonnaise in there. That mayonnaise stuff. So scoop of ice. I'm like, what the heck? Miracle Whip. It's just I mean, talk about like my brain's always on. It's like I talk about resilience, or the need for resilience, because anything can happen at any time. Like I could accidentally, unplug the freezer because I'm doing something and forget to plug it up. Like I had something like that happen, not in that way, but fortunately the freezer wasn't that full. But I mean, like if our freezer died or something happened with that, it'd be so like bad. Life is unpredictable and chaotic. Like look what happened in Victoria. Like I literally drove right past when Ricky's was on fire because I had to drop off. Right.
I had to drop off the keys at the office, I'm driving up the road. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I'm like, holy! And there's a couple unhoused people walking past the car. Like, what's going on? Like that. I'm like, I don't know. It's like the flames are just pouring out of this thing.
Oh.
And it's like in the whole town, from this one little restaurant, the whole town covered in smoke. And immediately I just thought of that song by Sting, like that one, what was it? On and on the rain will fall, tears from a star. How fragile we are, right? Mm-hmm. Because, like anything could happen at any time. And like with Victoria now, like I went for a walk before the show on what was that, Friday, and that whole section of like what is it, Broad Street, all like that whole section of Broad Street and down Johnson, every single shop is now papered. Mm-hmm. I don't know whether that's a lease thing or what that is, because that was the one where the fish and chips place went.
Yeah,
and it's like, wow, and that's the thing about roundtable capitalism and REITs, and these guys are like billionaires that straddle the globe, and like if you want to know where to get the money from, those guys, like that's financial transaction tax, land value tax. We can throw those things in, get that money, and like a conservative MP said to Kim Pate, it's like, if we can go after money laundering and this kind of stuff, we can pay for all your ideas and then some, Kim.
Here's another song. Honesty is such a lonely word. Everyone is so untrue. Honesty is hardly ever heard, but mostly what I need from you.
Like Billy Joel said, there's a job, there's a gig here.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Joe.
I got my double bass is way back there, but it was like for musicians, like people, like like Martin Gore said it when it comes to like Martin Gore, the singer-songwriter of Depeche Mode. He's like, when it comes to like music being a job, he's like, and it's like I'll do the accent. What the hell? So I had a friend come to the studio, and he lasted about 15 minutes, and he left. He got, I don't know how you can do it. I don't know how you can stand it. I got to leave. I didn't have the heart to tell him we've been listening to that one sound for about 2 weeks.
and Tom, there's only one route. It's called Route 66.
What was it? What do you say? Well, you have planned the motor west. Never my way, take the highway, that's the best. If your kicks on Route 66, up Arizona. Don't forget Winona, Demon, Boston, San Bernardino. Here we go.
Get your kicks on Route 66.
Are we just about to sign off here? I was wondering because
Yeah.
we can
Wow,
do
we're at 223.
we can do Happy Trails
Happy Trails.
as the
sure.
last
I don't know
song.
Happy Trails.
Yeah,
Happy Trails.
Happy Trails, all right.
Happy Trails
Happy
to
Trails.
you. Do you know that one? Until
I don't know
we
that one.
meet again. Okay, I'm showing my age then. Yeah. How about Lawrence?
Yeah, we'll meet again.
How about Lawrence Welk? Time to turn on the bubble machine.
Do I have that one? I might actually. Hold on. Give me a second here, because I might actually have that.
Oh.
'Cause I played with somebody else who did that song.
Oh.
Nice.
Sucker Row. Oh, good heavenly days. Yeah. Okay, let's see. Coming home, I've done my time. No, it's not that one. What's is this? Was it Capo Fifth? Okay. Whoop. I'll do a different one. I don't have that one. I can do this one. Let's see. I'm coming home, I've done my time. Got to know what isn't mine. If you receive my letter telling you I'll soon be free, then you'll know what to do if you still want me. If you still want me. Yeah. Oh, tired never been round the old oak tree. It's been 3 long years.
Do you still want me?
Want me? You don't see a ribbon round the old oak tree. I'll stay on the bus, forget about us, put the blame on me. I don't see a yellow ribbon round the old oak tree.
There you go.
There we go.
Or there's that other one. Knock 3 times on the
I don't know that
ceiling
one.
if you want me.
Yeah.
Again, I'm showing my age, I guess. You know why I know all these songs is because I'm big in karaoke, so I have all these songs on the karaoke
Oh, yeah.
tracks. Yeah.
I got this one, of course. Why do you build me up?
Oh yeah. Buttercup baby, just to let me
Buttercup.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that song, actually.
Oh,
Great
here's
one.
one. Here's it. Yeah.
Is that
Oh,
hair
yeah,
gel? That's from the movie.
Ooh.
Remember that? Is that hair gel?
Fill me up. Fill me up.
Buttercup baby. Anyway, we can get out of here.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I hope everybody liked the little musical interlude.
Hope everyone
Yeah.
had fun.
Yeah.
Well,
There
well,
were
we'll do-
green alligators along the geese.
Oh, yeah, here we go.
Some humpback camels and some chimpanzees.
Go on. I got elephants as soon as you're born.
Just the boys do unicorn.
Pink one, pink one.
And we're out.
Pink one.
And we're out.
Do you have any closing comments, Brent?
Well, actually, it's always a pleasure, Tom, having you join us.
Cheers.
Live performances, talk about your basic income. It's so important that people have to understand about the different models of basic income. But it's as Tom has described, there's different approaches, but it's giving people the opportunity of making the choice for themselves on the income, right? So it doesn't matter like which approach is. I mean, of course, Joseph, we want you. God!
Love you, Joseph.
We're gonna start a tweet storm pretty soon.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
That
Joseph,
son of a.
Yeah.
I want to get on the show.
Yeah.
I heard GLBI as well. Just
Everyone means well in their different
Yeah.
approaches. But obviously the system that we know it as we know it, the system is broken.
Yeah.
But
I
Just
feel
as broken
fine.
as we know it.
we've got EI, we've got all these other child tax credits. I mean, it's all universal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, so it's I guess my closing comment is things have to change, change for obviously the better, right?
Yeah.
How is it going to be done? Well, contact Tom. I mean, look at his Twitter feeds. I mean,
Yeah.
when you post stuff about basic income, start following the little pittance, the bread fall in the trails. And
my pin. I'm sorry to interrupt. My pin tweet. If you're on Twitter, I've got a whole bunch of stuff in there, and there's a whole bunch of links down below if you want to dig in. There is so much stuff you'd never want to get to the end of it. Check out Scott Santon's. He's got a whole bunch of stuff on his pin tweet as well. Between those two things, you can keep yourself busy as I have for years. So there's
so much to learn. There's so much to learn.
Yeah.
And it's all about not about pink unicorns. There's green alligators. Pink I mean, there's. I had to throw that in there. But in all seriousness, though, it's always great having you join us, Tom. And we're gonna do this again soon. It's been fun.
Cool.
And, over to you, Neil.
Well, I'm speechless. I have nothing to say.
There's pink alligators.
Pink alligators. There you go. That's a new one. That's a new one. There were pink alligators.
And there's green unicorns.
The green unicorns. There you go.
But now we got to turn the green magically into pink. And an ending little tune as we drift away for the afternoon. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in.
There were green dollar bills. So I'm
going to tune this over to Tom, and I'm going to say thank you, everyone, for tuning in. But I'm going to tune this over to Tom as an ending little tune. And thanks, everyone, for tuning in. And make sure you subscribe to Neil's YouTube channel to stay up to date on all the upcoming shows. Breaking with Brent and the Coffee Time with Brent. Click, subscribe, watch.
And you want to see Brent eat his cereal, his apple fritter cereal.
Yeah. Oh yes.
Tune in for that.
Oh yeah, I haven't opened it yet, and that's going to be quite comical. Definitely. I'm not going to give anything else away on what's going to happen with it, but so it's going to be great. When the weather turns nicer, I'm going to be doing that. So stay tuned. And here's an ending little tune for you as we conclude the show today.
What could change the world but the courage to put our hearts and our souls in motion, souls in motion, souls in motion. Lights are burning across the world they touch. They make more light, they make more heat. Stories are being shared, trust is being dead. Footsteps feel lighter on the rain-swept streets. The room's breathing again. Guys, listen. We're gonna save the world, gonna save the world. Guys, listen, we could light up the sky. Lights are burning across the world tonight. Stories are being shared, trust is being danced, it's going. Guys, listen, we're gonna change the world. We're the souls, we're gonna change the world. We're the souls. Gonna save the world, gonna save the world. We're the souls, gonna save the world. Souls, gonna save the world. Gonna save the world. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
For anyone.
Yeah, right
Bye.
on. Thank you so much, Tom.
Cheers.
Yeah, thanks everyone for tuning in today. This has been awesome, awesome podcast today.
Yeah.
Great. We'll see you again soon.
Cheers.
See you.
Thanks.
Bye.